Decadence starts small and modest. A father on a mission to investigate artifacts. His young daughter Natsume tagging along out of a sense of adventure. It doesn't end well for Natsume. She loses her dad and her right arm. Still, she survives, and dreams of fighting and making a difference. Decadence is set in a post-apocalyptic future, wherein Godal, monsters that come in all kinds and sizes, had demolished human civilization and are now in dominion over the land. Meanwhile, the remnants of humanity are now living in a gargantuan mobile city fortress named Decadence. The denizens of Decadence are divided into two classes, gears and tankers. Gears are enhanced warriors whose responsibility is to battle Godal and defend Decadence from them. As the elite class, they live in the opulent upper level of Deca-Dence. Meanwhile, tankers are the lower class living in the slum-esque fuel tank area of Decadence. Being non-combatants, they perform mundane, lowly tasks such as the maintenance of Decadence and gathering food. However, there are a few remarkable tankers who are recruited into the Power, and they get to fight alongside Gears. The Power is a military organization formed by the Gears. Its purpose is to fight the Godal and protect the Decadence fortress. Fast forward to when Natsume is about to leave school and take on a job as a tanker, supporting the Gears who fight monsters called Godal. She wanted to be a soldier, but it seems her missing arm disqualifies her. Natsume is instead given a hard, dirty armor cleaning job under the supervision of a joyless man named Kabaragi. He slaps a harness on her and pushes her off a ledge onto the sheer side of Decadence. Rookies typically scrub rotten Godal guts and blood for 5 years before any kind of advancement. While it's gross exhausting work, Natsume eventually gets the hang of it. Natsume eventually convinces her stoic boss to throw a welcome party for her, during which she gets tipsy and takes Kabaragi to task for his fatalism. He just wants to live a relatively quiet, peaceful life within the walls, and can't see why Natsume looks at her arm stump and says to herself, "More of that, please." The older Kabaragi has clearly been worn down by his experiences, while despite suffering quite a bit of trauma of her own, Natsume remains optimistic about the prospect of defeating Godal and living in true peace and prosperity. At the same time, Kurenai has a pet harmless Godal whom Natsume names Pipe. And also a strange, unexplained side job involving extracting chips from people when ordered to by a shadowy boss. Eventually Decadence comes afoul of a Godal attack party, led by an immense, Leviathan-like Mega Godal Gillen that seems equivalent to the size of the fortress, surrounded by a bevy of bizarre candy-colored Godal small fry. However, even the smallest of them are bigger and faster than humans. On the other hand, the Gears use sphere-shaped flight packs in order to increase their speed and mobility. When the Godal are spotted, Natsume and Kabaragi are still outside, and their colleague Fennel and another maintenance guy end up falling off the side of the fortress. They fall for a very long time, accentuating the sheer scale of their home as well as the battle unfolding below. That battle actually doesn't seem to be going so well when Kabaragi drops in with Natsume, but he grabs a flight back from one of the dead Gears and proceeds to unleash a can of whoop ass on the smaller Godals, with a tethered, nauseous Natsume trailing behind him. In a high-tech command center that belies the fortress' chaotic, grungy exterior, General Minato has his crew go through a number of checks, and elaborate technobabble that essentially transform the fortress into a giant mass driver cannon in the shape of a fist. Once the cannon is charged up, they wait until the Godal is as close as possible before firing. The physics of large-scale masses coming into contact at ridiculous speeds, and their effect on the surrounding environment, is beautifully rendered down to the smallest speck of debris. With the latest round of Godals thoroughly defeated, it's time to collect all the Godal meat, rest, heal, repair, and celebrate until the next battle. But in fact, everything is not as simple as it seems. As it turns out, for unbeknownst to the tankers, Decadence is actually a theme park. It is set within a bubble on what used to be Eurasia, and serves as a colossal entertainment facility for cute, stylized, robot beings, who are living in a spaceship above the bubble. Godal are actually manufactured, and the Gears are the avatars of these robots when they log into the game. Kabaragi is one of these beings himself. His human form is only an avatar, And Decadence is a huge and elaborate entertainment facility run by the all-powerful Solid Quake Corporation. Only the tankers are all real human beings, the last of their species. Later, in an extended flashback to 7 years ago, we see Kabaragi and his elite ranker team. They all sport odd skin and hair color because they're not really human, just avatars. Kabaragi is in the top 5 gears in all of Decadence, but he can feel he's reached his peak and bracing for the downslope. On the other hand, his young and eager comrade Mikey is slowly rising in the ranks, with much the same stats as Kabaragi in his prime. When not playing, Kabaragi is ingesting Oxy 1 like all the other people in Chimney Town, or getting stimulation in the form of beam session. While Kabaragi sees a bright future for Mikey, Mikey himself is impatient, and feels something is missing, namely the ability to release his limiter, a risky maneuver that will give him enhanced strength and speed in the game. Now that Mikey knows what it's like to be a ranker, he no longer wants to feel like he's replaceable, even though he kinda unwittingly is replacing Kabaragi. After quite a bit of begging, Kabaragi relents, and shows Mikey how to do it. However, Mikey gets caught as a cheater and labeled as a bug by Hugin, the stoic system administrator. Mikey gets scrapped and the entire ranker team disbanded. While all of Kabaragi's other teammates were sent into confinement for refusing their next assignment, Kabaragi decides not to go against the system today so he can live to possibly fight it another day. The nature of Kabaragi's new job? He's demoted to armor repairer with the tankers, but that's just his day job. By night he'll be a recovery agent, collecting the chips from humans deemed by the Hugin to be bugs that could harm the system. Now that, mostly, all has been explained, we return to Natsume incessantly begging Kabaragi to train her to fight. Having already lost a dad and an arm to combat, she isn't fazed in the slightest by the gory aftermath of the Godal battle. No doubt Kabaragi compares her to Mikey, who also begged to be more significant and paid the price for it. Even when Natsume half-heartedly tries to blackmail him with a photo she took with Pipe, Kabaragi won't budge on helping her. However, one night she spots him sneaking around in the shadows and catches him removing a chip from someone. Of course, not knowing his story, as far as she knows he's just robbing him because he's hard up for cash. Natsume gets Kabaragi to promise not to rob anyone else, and stop talking about it being over for him. Little does she know he's telling the truth, as he's been intentionally refraining from ingesting Oxy 1 or rebooting, which will eventually lead to shutdown, a slow suicide. Kabaragi always assumed that Natsume was another bug, maybe even the next on the list provided by Hugin. But when he scans her face, he finds no data among the current population of tankers, and a deeper search reveals that she was listed as deceased way back when her dad died and she lost her arm. That means she's not only a bug in the system, but one that's outside its control due to the lack of a chip. If the system won't recognize her, or believes she's of no value, then he'll recognize her. He finally ingests the Oxy 1, crediting her with saving him from an early demise, agrees to train her, and shows her around the swanky Gears base. Kabaragi researches Natsume's death, and discovers that although her heart stopped after the Godal attack in which she lost her arm, she was revived, possibly causing her chip to malfunction, making her a bug. He takes Natsume hunting Godal and they find a small spoonwormer where Kabaragi shows her the basics of the Godal defense system and ways to counteract it. She finds fighting it to be more difficult than it looks and suffers some minor injuries, but still aspires to be a great tanker fighter like her hero, Kurenai, and continues training. Natsume isn't going to let failure after failure keep her from learning how to ride the wave of Godal zones. Kabaragi attaches her to a kite to learn how to fly, and tosses her into the water to learn how to catch fish with a spear. Both are essential foundational skills for a gear or fighting tanker. Natsume keeps getting knocked down, and getting back up again until she gradually gets better and better, and even impresses Kabaragi. You can tell she's working her bum off, and it's paying off because she has a good, patient teacher. Kabaragi even goes over film of Natsume's training, and notices her crude artificial arm is taking too long adjusting her flying device, which could prove fatal in a real battle against tougher Godal. In the middle of film review, he's contacted by Hugin, who wonders why he hasn't processed a bug in 13 days, 7 hours, and 28 minutes. Both Hugin and a corporate presentation of world history, in which cyborgs eventually supplanted humans as the dominant species on Earth, implies that not keeping bugs in check led to the humans' downfall. When Kabaragi dives back into his human avatar, Natsume is at his door with an outfit for Pipe so he can run around outside. When Natsume tells Kabaragi that she's aware her old arm is a problem, he takes her to a weapons shop and outfits her with a new 5-fingered model. She's already over the moon to have fine control in both hands now, but wait, there's more. Her arm can transform into a spear gun, which should improve her fighting speed considerably. She's eager to test it out in the field, but a Godal alarm sounds, Decadence hits some kind of sinkhole and stops, and the resulting earthquake sends Natsume, Kabaragi, and Pipe flying. When Pipe falls into one of the cracks in the earth, Kabaragi follows after him, and requests location support from Commander Minato. We quickly flash back to 6 years ago when he found Pipe in a glob of Godal guts. Rather than kill or report the bug, he bought a trailer in Tanker Town and kept it as a pet. Both Pipe and now Natsume are products of his desire, his need, to rebel against Hugin and the system. Meanwhile, Natsume runs down and through the underground passage until she comes upon an absolutely massive cavern where she can watch the battle between medium-sized Godal and Gears unfolding. If only she had her gear, she could join in the battle. Then again, the size of the cavern and possibility it was made suggests that a much larger Godal may be lurking deeper in the earth.